Hi, I'm Rosalind Shaffer, and I'm going to talk to you about my ceramic sculpture. First, I'd like to give you a little bit of my artistic background. I started out as a painter and worked that way for a while, and I found that the two-dimensionality of the canvas wasn't really doing what I wanted for my subject matter, so I thought I would pull the subjects out and create figurative wood environments. They were wood constructions that were large scale, and they often were site-specific to a space, and I would try to work the piece so that it filled the space that I was in, and it allowed for the viewers to walk amongst the parts of the pieces and feel a part of it, and that was very exciting to me, that three-dimensionality. At that time, I was living in New York City, and I was affiliated with a women's cooperative gallery in Soho, and they had a big space, and this allowed me to do these environmental pieces several times. After that, I moved to Connecticut and decided it was time for a change of medium, and I decided to explore clay. And I did that here at Silvermine, actually. I took some classes to learn the techniques and all. And I found it amazingly exciting. It was such a tactile and organic type of medium, and it allowed for just going in so many different directions three-dimensionally. And I was totally hooked with it, and started working on more intimate-sized pieces. Though at the very beginning, actually, I did totems, and at that time my life was very stressful, and I found I needed to use my art to center myself, and I produced some meditative type of pieces using the technique of raku, which is this beautiful Japanese firing technique where you got a lot of crackling on the surface and colors emerge from the clay because you're going from a red-hot kiln and bring it into the air. Usually you let things cool down after you've produced things in the kiln. But with this technique, you take them out and you put them in a combustible environment in a metal can, and you cover it, and all those open crackles that were caused by the shock of the change in temperature filled in with beautiful carbon tracings, and it was very exciting and worked well with my pieces, very kind of zen and meditative. And then I felt that things were changing, and I needed to be a little more narrative with my work because of the social and political climate, which was frustrating, and I felt I needed some catharsis there, so the work really helped me to do that. So I got involved in much more intimate-sized pieces, and I started working with subjects that I felt their fragility showed in the scale of the work at this point, because they were undergoing challenges in their lives, the pieces that I chose to do, and their circumstances were shown for their delicacy with the sizes of the pieces that I was doing at this point. So behind me is Shattered Dreams, and this piece is very representative of that type of feeling of fragility. This is a woman, very emotional piece, obviously going through a moment of despair. Her downward gaze, her sloping shoulders, her listless pose, and the mirror that shattered and caught itself in the folds of her dress with sharp edges that accentuated the feeling of pain and scattered on the floor in front of her. The gray of her dress also is muted and adds to that kind of somber effect. And that's on a personal level, that it's very emotional, but I also saw this as a larger narrative, doing something that was more a wider viewpoint, that addressed the issues, the social issues of the day, the shattered dreams, basically, of many people now that they're experiencing in our culture and globally. And that was really what I was trying to get with this piece. My other pieces that are across the room are ceramic small sculptures as well of women, and they are a little more humorous in their take, but yet they're also dealing with social challenges, and that's basically the theme of a lot of my pieces. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Thank you.
Because there was Rosalind, there's such a strong narrative component to your work that I've noticed, certainly. Has that always been there from when you were working in other mediums?
In other mediums, it was that way. And the wood constructions that I did were larger than life size. And some of them had humor to them as well. Working through different things in your life, I just find that addressing things with a little humor helps when it's serious or not. And I found that after a while, though, when I started with clay, I got much more into a serious mode. I was more into de-stressing and doing quiet pieces. And the whole act of centering clay actually centers you. And that's what's so nice about it. A lot of people say, oh, it's so Zen-like, and I just love doing it because you really just have to focus. You focus in so much. And that's what I started doing when I started with clay. And as I said, things changed in our culture, and I felt the need to express myself there too. So,
do you feel you found your medium now?
Yes, this is it. I mean, who knows though, right? Everybody changes. But I guess that it just is it had so many variables. Clay can just go in so many directions. You can paint it, you can glaze it, you can just leave it raw, you can leave it in rubble and break it up and whatever. And so it has a lot of possibilities for the future if I decide to move into a different project with it.
Did you do the glazes, the color of the dress and the color of the flowers all at the same time?
Yes, actually what this is an underglaze. I work a lot with underglazes. I sometimes find that, especially with sculpture that takes longer than throwing a pot, that I don't want to take chances with it. And I know what I'm getting when I work with underglazes, which is like a paint that is fired in the kiln. And then you can use like a satin finish to it with another firing or the same firing. But I did paint the dress and all the different parts at the same time in this underglaze, and then covered it with a matte satin kind of a glaze, so it wasn't too vibrant.
So I see you're using materials on this piece, your mirrors.
Yes.
But on your other pieces, it's all clay. Are you planning on incorporating materials in the future into pieces you do?
Well, I think what I've done in the past also with some of my vessels, I've used wood, I've used other organic materials, but I've also been interested, the other pieces that I started doing along with this piece, because this was my most recent piece in this show. The other pieces are using wire, they're using wood and other materials to accentuate things. I'm not using things like fabrics to indicate clothing or anything like that, but it has symbolic meaning, a lot of the materials that I'm using.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.